Kia ora everyone, welcome back to another Women's Health Action Trust Digi Update. Today I am joined again by Louise from Age Concern. We had her on a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about some of the concerns that were coming through for older people during COVID-19. Now that we're moving into level 2, we're seeing kind of a new group of concerns pop up. So I thought I'd bring Louise back to touch on those. Louise, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself again?
Yes, certainly, Caitlin. So I'm Louise Rees from Age Concern New Zealand, and my role here is National Social Connection Advisor. So I coordinate our visiting service for older people and also have an overview on any other social connection work that's being done by Age Concerns at local level and on our comms and policy work in that area.
Awesome. So Louise, we're moving to level 2, or we're in level 2 now, which is really awesome. But we kind of wanted to make this video to acknowledge that just because we're in level 2 now doesn't mean that everything is magically back to normal, and we know a lot of people will still be having a bit of a rough time transitioning. So what's kind of been coming through on Age Concern in terms of that?
Yeah, we're definitely getting some feedback that there is concern from some people, anxiety about reconnecting. And that's not just for older people, actually. We've all got quite used to this what feels quite safe, this, staying in bubbles and keeping our social connection quite contained. From older people, yes, we are hearing about some anxiety, particularly around, they're being advised, the government advice, and I've sent some resources to Caitlin around this, is that older people have exactly the same rights as anybody else at level 2 to get out, to mix in groups of 10 within their home, to go out to cafes, to go out do their shopping, basically whatever is allowed for anybody else, that's the same for older people. But that comes with some precautions around the fact that people who at older age, particularly over 70, and anybody with underlying health conditions is at more risk of being seriously ill if they do contract the virus. So what government is advising is that older people think about their own risk factors and think about their own comfort level in terms of reconnecting. So I would advise that if you've got concerns, you have a look at that advice. If you're really concerned about your own risk factors, maybe have a chat with your GP. But it's also, and those things that are allowed at level 2, none of us need to think of them as a target. Those are limits. That's the maximum amount of social connection that we're allowed to have, but we don't have to. It's like a speed limit. The speed limit may be 100, but we don't have to drive at 100 if that doesn't feel safe. But at the same time, social connection is really important. It's a really important part of our health and well-being. And it's really important that, all our worlds have got smaller during lockdown. And it's important that we don't stay in those very small worlds forever, that we do look at how we can gently take steps to reconnect. There are, of course, things that may feel safer at first. So I don't know about you, Caitlin, but I haven't actually dashed straight out to a restaurant. For me, I haven't felt the urge to do that. But what I have done is have one friend round for a cup of tea. I've been round to another friend's house and had a cup of tea with her. And it was so nice, just the simple fact of, walking in through the door, sitting in a chair, sharing a cup of tea instead of having a chat in the driveway was lovely. I've also been to the library, which was nice. And I've had my hair cut. So, kind of taking those gentle steps, and I've seen my daughter and I've had a hug with her. So that's been really lovely. What have you done, Caitlin? What wild things have you done at level 2?
I've been able to see my family, which was really exciting. And then I did make it out to dinner at a restaurant, which was really nice, with 2 of my girlfriends who I hadn't met in a couple of months, which made me feel very happy.
Yes, yeah. So it is important, such an important part of our lives. It's important for our health, and it's important for our happiness, our overall well-being, that we do have social connection. But yeah, if it's feeling really difficult, or if you feel really anxious, then take it slowly, go at your own pace. Another thing that an older person said to me was that she had lost confidence driving and hadn't really driven anywhere during lockdown. Again, if that's happening, it's probably good not to let that go on forever. Try some safe, gentle local driving if you hadn't been doing it. If you're feeling really anxious about it, Age Concern do run courses around safe driving. We're not yet opening them up because group activity is still difficult at this level, but we will be at some point. So if you're really struggling with that, do contact your local Age Concern, and they can tell you if and when there's a course in your area which might be helpful.
I think that's really good advice, Louise. I think it's easy to be kind of seeing everybody thinking, yay, we're at level 2, we can completely go back to the way that we were before. I think it's very fair that a lot of people are feeling kind of nervous about that change. We had that massive transition into lockdown, and it's only normal that it's going to be a really big transition out of lockdown as well. And yeah, just taking it at your own pace, I think, seems to be the best way to go.
Yes, and we have, a lot of older people who are also in the workforce. So one thing that's happening for us is that we will be back at work part-time from next week. So that for our office has involved a lot of conversations. Our boss has consulted with all of us around whether we have any issues or concerns about going back to work. And we've talked as a team about how we would manage our work environment in order to be as safe as possible in terms of any potential spread of infection. So if you are looking at going back to work, do have those conversations, do voice your concerns, and talk with your boss or your colleagues about how you're feeling about it and how it can be managed safely.
The other thing is that we saw a lot of services come up to help people while we were in level 4 and level 3. Do you have any insight on whether those things are still operating now that we're at level 2?
Well, good news is that Student Volunteer Army Shopper Service will continue. We've seen their latest media release that will continue at this level, so that's great. Because even when we're not going through COVID-19, there are still people who find it difficult to either get out to the supermarket and shop or to order online if they're not using the internet. So that's fantastic. We understand that some services that were withdrawn may be possible to have again, like home management services from the DHBs, I believe, are starting up again. So some things that have been withdrawn may be back, and some things that have developed during lockdown may continue.
Yeah.
So there will be some gains from this as well as losses, I believe.
Yeah. Awesome.
Our visiting service has gone back to careful, managed face-to-face visiting, for instance. So we have lots of precautions around it, around social distancing and screening questions, but our visitors can now go into the homes of the people they visit, sit 2 meters apart and have a chat. So we hope that that's a good change for some of those people.
That's good. So we've kind of got some of those things that were there to help us in level 4 and 3, but then also we can bring back those things from before, like maybe a cleaner or getting your lawns mown or Is there anything you want to add in terms of this, or?
I think that's probably about it. I think that's probably all. But yes, I do hope people are enjoying a little bit more social freedom, and also that reassurance really that services that were hard to access, things like dentistry and so on, are now becoming a bit more open at level 2. So there are things that may make us anxious about reconnecting, but there are also probably things that make us feel calmer, easier to get help if there's something going wrong in your home, easier to get dental care, easier to do some of those things that perhaps have felt difficult during lockdown.
Yeah. Awesome. And of course, people can always get in touch with Age Concern, right? If they have any specific...
Absolutely, yes. If you have questions or concerns about anything to do with your support or social connection, if you're feeling anxious or lonely or wanting to know where to go for help, your local Age Concern is a really good first port of call. Even if we don't provide the service or the help that you need, we can generally point people in the right direction.
Yeah, and we'll definitely link through to Age Concern, so anybody who's watching can get in touch if they need an awesome service.
That would be fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this little update, Louise. It was awesome.
You're very welcome. Pleasure to talk to you again, Caitlin.
Cool. And everyone, we hope you're enjoying level 2, and we will see you in our next updates. Bye.